Hi, I'm Claudia Steer, Group Strategy Director at DDB. I took a bit of a roundabout way. Um, I've been a teacher, I taught overseas, I worked in sports, and ended up in grad school studying marketing and learned about planning and advertising through that. Got an internship shortly after grad school, and that was sort of my entry into the industry. I felt that advertising was sort of scratching a number of itches that I had. So, through my previous experience, I knew that I wanted to be in a creative environment. That was really important to me because I thought of myself as a creative person. But I'm also a geek, and I love nerdy things, and I love to learn. And advertising gives me that too. So I'm able to do sort of both things that I really love. So, on a very broad level, I'm sort of paid to be curious. I'm paid to ask questions, look for clues, be an investigator as it relates to finding the sweet spot between consumer needs, consumer tensions, consumer problems, and business solutions. So I think curiosity is a big one, because you have to be able to sort of look beneath the obvious, and constantly question whether or not something is going to be interesting enough and intriguing enough to inspire a new creative idea, from a strategic standpoint, obviously. I also think being resilient is important, because ultimately my role is in service of other people. My job is to inspire the creative teams, and if I don't inspire them, I failed. And that happens more often than you'd like to admit, really. But so you have to kind of be resilient enough to constantly go back to the well and, try to find more inspiring stuff for them. Most difficult experience. This is going to be interesting. Okay, so the most difficult experience, I think, I don't know if it's unique to this industry, to be totally honest. But for me, it's been about learning that in order to do well at your job, it's not just about doing your job well. And I know that probably doesn't make sense at first glance, but it's so much more than what your job description requires, that sort of separates those that excel versus those that don't. But I think that's true of corporate America in general, not just advertising. But that was a very difficult lesson for me to learn personally that took a lot of trial and error. And then the second thing was the most fulfilling. Was that right? Also, the part two to the first part is also being one of very few minorities. That was also very trying at certain points in my career. But to the parts that that I'm proud of, I think that was a question. Being one of few female people of color in the industry at my level, I don't take that position lightly. I take it understanding that I have a lot of responsibility, but I'm glad to be able to be a representative on some level for an industry that very much needs it. I would love for there to be a sort of the establishment of an environment that embraces honesty and truth. I think there's often a level of politically correctness that sort of trumps actually getting to real solutions to some of the issues that we have. And if we could sort of embrace a culture of honesty, I think we could do a lot more to move forward with some of the issues that we're having. Freedom of expression. I think there's a number of different ways to express yourself in this place. in this industry that is very, very different from other industries. And whether or not you're a creative or whether or not you're an account person or a producer, how that expression manifests itself can be very, very different, but equally rewarding. And I don't think many places can say that. Well, I have been a teacher before. I taught freshmen and seniors in high school. And I don't think you could get an audience more difficult than that. So as a planner, trying to figure out how to cater to the needs of various different types of people when you have one message that you need to communicate is something I learned a lot about being a teacher. I've also had to sell very difficult products before. I worked for the WNBA, which is a very acquired product, and understand that sometimes the salesmanship matters just as much as the message or the product that you're trying to sell, which has also served me well in this role. Everybody say,